Hello, Generation 1 Transformer fans. This is Sparkster1701, and over the past few months, you've seen that I've had a Combaticon featured in every month. This has been leading up to the big build-up where we will now form their combined form of Bruticus. So I do apologize for the delay this may have caused any of you who have wanted to see the combined form. And I'm going to try to come up with a different way to showcase the combiners in the coming years. But for right now, let's get on to Bruticus. Right now, I have him all divided into his component forms, and we're going to show off to you how to build the monster robot. For starters, we need Onslaught in his base mode, complete without any accessories on him at all. The next, you'll want to designate which guys you want as the legs and put them in robot mode. I'm going to go with how he's depicted in the instructions, and we're going to use Swindle and Brawl as the legs. And that leaves Blastoff and Vortex to be the arms, and they need to stay in their vehicle mode. Now, to get the body prepared, we need to take Onslaught in his base mode, and we fold up the rear wheels. This will leave these holes exposed here. Get them a little closer to the camera so you can see them. This is where the guys will connect to be the legs. Now, while it doesn't explicitly state it in the instructions, they want you, as it shows in the pictures, to rotate his shoulders so they point upwards like this. And as you can see, there's a hole here in the side. This is where the guys will connect to form the arms. Now, there is an alternate way of doing this that I'll show you on one of the checklists where they just leave the arms into the sides like this, but when you look at it like that, it makes him look kind of boxy looking. So we'll go with the shoulders back look. And, well, get the other guys out of the way here. That looks a little better. Not perfect, but he'll look better when we get the other accessories on him. Alright, our next step will be to build his legs. And as I stated earlier, we're going to use Swindle and Brawl to be the legs. To get Swindle ready to be a leg, we simply have him in his robot form, then move his arms straight down, and put them inside. I'm going to have Swindle be the right foot, so take the right foot stand, and we insert him in. Since he has a couple of holes here in the bottom, we just use one of them to attach the foot stand. You keep this part out here pointing outward from his face, should look out and see it. Now to turn Brawl here into a leg, we raise his arms up so they are in line. Move the tank turret back out so we can get his arms to shift. Get his arms to line up with his chest. And then next, we'll take his legs and fold them back up into his body. Move the tank turret again. Keep that tank turret pointing vertical. You're going to have his Brawl facing backwards. And then you connect the left foot stand into the hole on the bottom. And then there you go. We have a pair of Bruticus legs. Now we're going to deal with the guys who are the arms. We'll start with Blastoff here. And the first thing you're going to do with Blastoff is you're going to fold his rear wings up and fold down the tail fin. And we pull him apart like we're going to get his legs out. And then we raise up this post here on his backside. Oftentimes you'll find on loose samples, this gets pretty loose, depending on how many times the previous owner built Bruticus. Since he's going to attach in like this, I'm going to make him the right arm. So we will take the right fist and the gun. I'm going to make him right-handed. And we just insert the fist into one of his rocket boosters. Just exactly like that. For Vortex, what we do is simply pull out his cockpit like we're going to put him in robot mode, rotate it around, and then bring it up and inward. Then we'll turn him down here to his chest and pull out this green post like that. This is the way Vortex will connect, as he'll be the left arm. So we shall take the left fist, and we insert it into one of the holes in his feet. And then there's the other arm. Alright, to start assembly, normally they have you start attaching the limbs, but since this Onslaught's kind of on the loose side from a lot of years of play, as you can tell by how his stickers are worn, we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach his chest shield on, so it'll help keep the shoulders in place. Basically, this post on the back side connects into this hole here on his chest, plus there's a little bar here down at the bottom. This hooks into his waist right around here. So just push that in and snap that into place, and that'll hold his shoulders in place, keep him from moving. Then next, we'll take Swindle and Brawl, and we will insert their heads into the holes on Onslaught's feet. And once again, pop the chest plate free. Put that back in there. We go. Now that we got that back in, pan the camera up a bit. And then next, we take the arms and just insert their posts into the holes on Onslaught's shoulders. Now for a couple of final details. Well, in some cases it's not always shown. His missile launcher can be connected onto his backside, just exactly where it goes in his other modes. Slide it in there just exactly like that. Then lastly, place the head right over Onslaught's head. And there you have it, folks. Super Warrior Bruticus. Bruticus, like the other with his components, the Combaticons, they were released in 1986 as part of the new generation of combiners that now had the 4 small guys and 1 large guy. He'd be released the same year as Menasor, Superion, and Defensor. They also released Predaking, but Predaking followed a slightly different scheme, but was similar in nature. So 1986 was a big year for combiners. Bruticus would also be available in 1987. He would be discontinued in 1988. And while we had Abominus with a similar role in 1987, 1988's Piranacon, while technically would have replaced Bruticus, had a different function, so it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not Piranacon really replaced Bruticus. In this configuration, Bruticus does have limited articulation. Unlike most of them, because of the fact that Onslaught's head is loose, you can rotate his head to the sides. The way the arms are connected, they can rotate all the way around at the shoulder. Unfortunately, with how loose Onslaught's shoulders are, that's not always recommended, as you just saw. Where's Dick Clark and his blooper show when we need it? As for leg articulation, well, since we have Swindle down here as a leg, and he's got the way his head is positioned, we can bend him at the knee to do a short kick. But again, the weight of him kind of pulls down on Onslaught's joint. So it's not really recommended, especially if you've got a real loose Onslaught and Bruticus here. Kind of looks like his arms are a little mismatched here. We'll stretch this one out. That's better. That looks a little better. At least the hands are somewhat more level. Otherwise, it looks like a guy that's bought a custom jacket and one sleeve's longer than the other. Bruticus here is described as a single-minded engine of destruction. The 5 personalities that make him up are all horrendous war criminals, so their merger into Bruticus makes him an unquestionably obedient super warrior, as he extracts only the one thought that they all seem to enjoy, the love of war. So he is basically every military commander's dream, an unthinking and unstoppable weapon of war who will do anything he's told. Kind of making him somewhat more efficient and useful than Devastator and Menasor, as they both were kind of on the dumb side, although Bruticus here isn't that much further beyond that. It's an interesting bit of trivia for you folks. Bruticus was voiced in the cartoon by actor Roger Carmel, who also voiced for a time Motormaster and Cyclonus just prior to his death. Carmel is most famous for his role in classic Star Trek as the lovable rogue Harcourt Fenton Mudd, or Harry Mudd if you prefer. Alright, if you're going to buy a Bruticus that's listed as complete on the internet, as you can clearly see, there are quite a few pieces to obtain for him. And we'll start by showing them off, even though these have all been shown on their previous videos. First up to show off is the rotor blade to Vortex. As stated before, this is made out of some very thin plastic, as you can see, so you'll want to check it over for any signs of stress wear. And again, make sure it's got these little risings here along it, and that it has a greenish colored post. As I showed you in Vortex's video, his rotor blade could easily be mistaken for flip tops on the GoBot side. We also have Vortex's semi-automatic glue gun. That's what it looks like on the back side. Get my fingers off the barrel here so you can see the barrel. And then we have a pair of side-mounted cannons. This is the right one. That's the left one here. As you can see, they're tri-barrel in design. Get the other one out here so you can see it. Tri-barrel in design. Nothing real fancy about them. Hollow on the inside. For Swindle, you have this large scatter blaster. Kind of looks the same both ways around. Get my hand out of the way so we can get a good look at it in the light. And then we also have his gyro blaster. Kind of looks the same, coming and going. For Brawl, we have his handgun here, an electron blaster. Looks the same on both sides. And then we have his big twin sonic cannon. It does have the adjustable stand on it here. And remember, as I said on his video, the posts are of a different size. That's how they're supposed to be. And then lastly, for Blast Off, we have his ionic blaster. It looks good. It's got the side-mounted ammo pack here. And then we also have his dual sonic cannons. One for the right-hand side, and, of course, one for the left. Moving right along, we have Onslaught's dual missile launcher. And remember, the turret can be adjusted and slid along on here. So always make sure that's intact. This is the hardest piece to find for Bruticus, is Onslaught's ramp. So like we stated the other week on his video, that this is a very thin piece of plastic, so it breaks right here very easily if it's stress worn. Quick note to pass along, because these videos are filmed in advance. Onslaught was recently revealed to be in the upcoming Transformers movie, The Last Night. So, if you hadn't heard that, well, you heard it here first, folks. Albeit about a month late. We have the head here for Bruticus, or a decapitated Transformer. Right here we have the large chest shield. If you want to check it over, some of these fins and wings on it are rather thin plastic. Take a good look here at the back side. That's how it connects into the top of the chest. And down here's the notch that hooks into his waist. Originally in the cartoon, the chest plate was going to be Blastoff's wings. I don't know how they would have worked that into the toy, but interesting thing. So I have another piece. It's for Onslaught only. It's the small chest shield. It's pretty durable, but you'll always want to check. This is the second one I've had, because the original, the label got destroyed in a play battle somehow. And you got the weapon, the sonic stun gun. Looks the same all both ways. And you'll have two hands. As you can see here, they've got an R and an L on the side, designate right hand and left hand. And while you can't really see it here on camera that well, there is an R and an L molded on the inside as well, just in case the outside ones get rubbed off or something. And then lastly, you have a pair of foot stands. You should be able to notice the pegs are on opposite sides, and it does have an R and an L etched into the foot, so you know which one's the right foot and the left foot. Conveniently as well, they are also etched on the bottom. Quite a fair number of pieces, folks. Unlike many of the other combiners that would be released, Bruticus did, however, get a gift set. It just his was only available in Japan or Italy. Nowhere else in the world was it released, so kind of sucks for the rest of us, doesn't it? But we do, however, have a copy of his instructions. This is the copy that was released in with all the small toys. So bring it up close so you can get a good read of it. This kind of shows you how I followed them. Modified somewhat, of course, to be able to better handle my toy. And of course, down here is the important notice that mentions each mini vehicle is interchangeable and can form any arm or leg of Bruticus. So that kind of enhances the playability of him. Just now noticed here, folks, it shows over here that you pull Blastoff's legs out for it, but in this picture, you can clearly see they are back in. Strange. Obviously, they don't have consistency with their instructions. In fact, just for kicks, I got Onslaughts here that has the full color spread, which you saw the other week. As you can see, it's exactly the same. So it's kind of in or out. To be in or to be out? That is the question. I'll spare you the rest of the drill of it. But while we don't have an actual tech spec for you to see for him, we do have a translated version in Mark Bellomo's Transformers Identification and Price Guide. Highly recommend this book to you folks. That is, if you can find a copy. It's gotten pretty expensive in the recent years. It lists Bruticus' function as warrior and gives his motto as the road to conquest is paved with Autobot wrecks, and states that the quotation is taken from the Marvel Comics Transformers series. It states here, translated from the Japanese tech spec, Bruticus transforms into the 5 Combaticons, can destroy his enemies with ultrasonic waves and smash metal bridges with a single chop of his hand. Cold-blooded, likes nothing more than destroying Autobots. Once he starts running wild, he is unstoppable. Has small brain circuits, making him simple-minded. Carries a sonic stun gun and a missile cannon. It gives his strength as 10, his intelligence of 3, his speed is 1, his endurance is 9, his rank is 5, his courage is 10, and both his firepower and skill are 8. So he's a reasonably skilled warrior, just rather slow, just extremely slow, and a little bit on the dumb side, but basically smart enough to know his orders and how to carry them out. As a final bonus, before we get to my opinions of him, I want to show off some of the how he's pictured in some of the checklists, due to the fact that there's an inconsistency amongst some of them. Right here, this is the American 1986 catalog, and right there is Bruticus. As you can see, he's done somewhat in the way that he's been done here, except they've got the arms in, whereas I've pulled them out. As you saw, that was somewhat due to an inconsistency on the instructions. As an added bonus here, folks, I've got a European version of the checklist, so I'll show you over here on the over here for the tech spec thing. As you can see, it has 4 languages. So, and my language skills are good enough to know that I know I'm looking at English. I believe one of them is likely French and Spanish and possibly German. So this is a Western European checklist. But right here you have Bruticus, but as you can see, they've left Onslaught's arms folding downward. So you can kind of see that how boxy it looks on this picture. Now for a fun one, I do have this set that was released in England around 1980, in between 86 and 87. First off, let you have a look at this artwork here of Ultra Magnus versus Galvatron. They've got him listed as the new leaders, despite the fact that Rodimus Prime was the leader and not Ultra Magnus. But Rodimus, for some reason, is not on this checklist. But he's not the reason we're looking at it. We're looking down here at the Combaticons, and if you take a look there, they do not have Bruticus's head on the picture. So it kind of looks more like we got an angry Onslaught, or he's been off in one of the island jungles and had his head shrunk. Bit strange, but a nice novelty for you, my friends. Now we get down to what do I think of Bruticus. Bruticus, from all the descriptions, has been shown to be somewhat more useful than the average combiner that the Decepticons had at the time. Devastator, rather, had his uses, but was still somewhat flawed and limited due to the fact that the Constructicons really didn't get along well enough as a team, so they limited the functions of the combined unit. But that still made him terrifying, especially being the first one deployed in battle. And Menasor, who was released alongside Bruticus, is a complete psychopath, as the Stunticons get along even worse than the Constructicons. That's not to say that the Combaticons here get along well with each other, but there's at least more cohesion in their team, and since they all have an appreciation for war, that does help in their mental fusion, making Bruticus more effective. As a combiner, he does fit in well with the motif of the Decepticons as militaristic conquerors. So a combined military unit like Bruticus here fits in well with the team. As for about what tier to put him in, I would probably go best with middle tier at best, due to the fact that he is still a combiner, and while his appearance isn't exactly the greatest in the world, he's still a pretty impressive character, so maybe I could slide him over a little bit to being closer to a top tier character, but he's still more in the middle. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Combiner Warrior Bruticus. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, post a comment, share this video with your friends. This is Sparkster1701 saying catch y'all later.